Hey, how's it going? So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, um, well, I want to say gratitude, but it's more than just um, being thankful for like what you have. Although that's a good thing to do, is to be thankful for what you have instead of like perhaps being more concerned with wanting what other people have, for instance. Um, so, I recently have just been feeling kind of wacky, kind of like sort of under the weather in my head a little bit. And what I don't know, I just found myself like feeling like I was fighting, wanting to feel like bad. Like I just was, everything just felt like it wanted to go negative. So I was really like just having sort of this internal battle. And then, because the reason why I don't want to just go ahead and feel bad, I mean, sometimes you have to, like, you don't want stuff to just sit in your gut or whatever and fester. So you have to, or I have to, like, feel it for a while. I gotta let it do what it's gotta do. And, so it was just sort of like a tussle, almost between, like, being a good mood or being a bad mood. I don't know why. I mean, there are reasons, there are things that could affect your mood other than something that just like immediately happened, okay? That is for each person, I feel like, to determine on their own if you're gonna, if you're intent on figuring out what the hell your own problem is. So, but anyway, I'm like in my head going back and forth, and a good thing happened, like a really good thing that I wasn't expecting. I kind of was, but let me qualify that. I kind of was because for years I've been seeing these readings. Like I'll watch like a tarot reader do my sign, like read my sign for, they'll do it for for a length of time that they'll present. They'll say like, Sagittarius, this is what's going to happen between this date and this date. So I look at those, and I can throw my own cards. I kind of don't know what I'm doing, but I know it seems like I'm getting off track here, but for like years I've been getting these readings, and they're not specific to me. It's always a general reading, so you kind of have to figure out if it actually has anything to do with you. Like, does it match anything what's going on in your life? Does it resonate somehow? So for years I've been hearing, you're going to come into some money, you're going to come into some money, and I'm like, and they're like, oh, an inheritance or something like that, and I'm like, who? Everybody's dead. There's no one to die and leave me anything. And I don't want them to die to do it anyway, if there were such a person. But anyway, that was a thing that I would hear a lot, and that would always stick with me, and I assumed it was because I always need money. And then the other thing that I would see a lot was there's going to be like a mature mother figure that's going to come into your life. And I always think, I mean, it could be, but who could that be? Given where I am pretty much away from like everybody, everybody that I know, but not away from other people. So I was just like, well, neither of those things really seem to fit quite. But the money thing, it's interesting. Like, I have my monthly income because I'm sick from the government, and I'm not working right now. Like, occasionally I'll pick up some part-time work or something, but I'm not working right now, and I haven't for a while. So I just have this one income. So I'm saying it's hard to see where any more money is going to come from. But like tax refunds every year, I don't get one, but somehow, because I don't file because of my medical status thing. But every year seem to get like a little boost of money from somewhere somehow. Not, and I don't pursue it. I'm not out looking for it in particular. I have my little things that I do, like my surveys or whatever, and that leads to money, but that takes a long time, and I'm right keeping track on that. Like, how long is it going to be? How many more times do I have to do this before cha-ching happens? That's how that's how I get like extra money if I don't have like a little job. So those two things, I was always kind of like, well, I don't see how it's going to happen, but I'm not going to say no, because if it's going to happen, I want it to. I don't want to like scare it off, so to speak. So two of those things like happened, of course, in ways that I never saw coming. I talked about it before, that I had an incident where someone took something from me of like pretty great value, and it's been many years later, like over a decade, that this person turned up again and fully redeemed themselves in every way in my eyes. Like, all I really wanted was an apology. I wasn't expecting recompense. So yeah, that was extra happy and timely. I needed it because, as I said in one of my previous videos, it is going towards helping me save to get a new wheelchair. So someone else I know saw that video, and it wasn't that I was getting money that was inherited to me, but this person, they called themselves an angel donor, so I'm just going to go with that. They got the inheritance, but they're sharing it with me because they saw me say, oh my God, I'm starting to cry. Oh. It was just a beautiful thing. Like, it took a long time. Like I said, I've been seeing these two particular things that always kind of like stuck with me because I couldn't figure out how they would happen. And that is probably why in a lot of the channelings I watch, the spirit's like, don't try to figure it out. Don't try to put a time on it. Like, just do what you're doing. Preoccupy yourself elsewhere and let it happen. Let it happen naturally. Let it happen in the time that spirit wants to allot it. So, I mean, this happened over a couple of days. It happened over a day ago, but it's happened over a couple of days. And I was just so filled up with joy and gratitude. Because, like, I had a clue it was coming, like I said, but I'm still like, how did this happen? Where did this come from? And thank you. Oh, my goodness. So, going back to what I was saying in the beginning, the reason why I was fighting myself about feeling the emotions that I was talking about is because I don't want to be in a negative state of mind, because that blocks everything good from happening to you. I mean, even if it's not something like that I'm talking about, say you want a job in life and you know that, like, you're going to be a football player or a gymnast or a swimmer. You know you have to put in years of effort to get to a place where you can be a top competitor. And so this is not you training for anything except for getting out of your own way. But when you're training for these things, your mindset is not, I'm going to lose this race, I'm going to fail at this new skill. Like, you're not, that is not the mindset. That you have a positive mindset. You're like, I'm going to win. I'm going to do this so many times until I do it perfect and it's great. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't go out to do something that you want to do or get thinking, I'm going to totally fail at this. So that was kind of the fight I was having with myself. Like, why do you want to go negative? And I'm like, I don't know. It's not good. Like, but it is a reflex, unfortunately. It's like, it's been the go-to for so long, it's hard to not go to there. Not go to that state of mind, but I guess I managed to stay far enough away from it or else I couldn't stop the momentum of these two incidents that I kind of had a clue were coming for, like I said, like a few years. The two things that stuck with me that I had no reason to think were going to happen, eventually when I just kind of got off of worrying about it or thinking about it, even as much as like, God, I wish that would happen to me. I wish I would meet someone like that, like just a stabilizer kind of in my life. Not that I don't need like a mother anymore. And when I say mother figure, this person has kids. That's what I mean by mother. And they're older than me, but a lot of my friends are several years older than me, and a lot of times that's been intentional. Not that it was like, oh, I would have to be friends with this older person for like any specific reason. It wasn't as mercenary as that. It was just that these people that I felt drawn to happened to be older, and in many cases they just were like, okay, I'll also just be your friend too. And there was never any sort of like a parental sort of energy to it, or an I'm older than you sort of thing. It was just very satisfying because they treated me on a level that I felt was, more or less equal, considering the age difference. So I don't even know why I started going there, but yes, to keeping the good attitude, and then you have to like temper, like I said, you don't want to like not feel stuff and not experience what you like. Things happen and you go through stuff. It's like involuntary, and when you stop yourself, you kind of screw yourself up. You kind of put roadblocks in your own way. You understand what I mean? Like, don't get in your own way. I guess there's levels to it. I don't know if it was the intent to not go negative, even though I was thinking about it a lot, which is kind of what you don't want to be doing. It's a tightrope. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I guess I did something right. I was going to say, I guess I did something right finally. I do stuff right all the time. I don't know why I felt like I had to qualify that, because you don't know what I'm thinking about. You don't know what examples I have in mind. Trust me, it's good. So, oh yeah, and there was some other thing I wanted to talk about. Like right now, this business with the death of Tyree Nichols by multiple cop it's knocking the nation for a loop, and it's kind of like the nation needs to be knocked for that particular loop probably a few times before we get it, or maybe not. It's weird that people are comparing it to the Rodney King incident, although it does bear a certain similarity of a bunch of cops like beating the crap of a prone person on the ground. It's disturbing because it's not as easily put into like racial terms, because that's usually, or a lot of times, what it is that seems to draw the cops' ire so much. It seems to be like a race-based thing. But in this case, people will want to say it's not that, but it kind of is. I don't know why people, like I forget what I was watching. I watched so much stuff, it all kind of blends together. But this person was talking about how because they're black, they should have just all been like, oh, well, we're not going to beat the hell out of you because you're black. That was not the dynamic there. It was a cop to civilian thing. And there's a lot of discussion. Like, I haven't watched all of it, but I just watched one before this, and it is easy, or like automatically you want to attach that behavior to something you can recognize. And there was, I was watching a clip from Ali Velshi show, and he's talking to this guy named Paul Butler, who's out of New York, and he's a former cop, and he writes about the dynamic between the police and the public, and on the level of how things go wrong and what and that they shouldn't, and what could potentially be done about it, because he was a police officer for many years and he's a black guy. So he was talking to Velshi, and they were talking about how it's a mindset of the police that, and they talk about this, you don't need to go to a course to learn about this. They say it. It's us and them. And they really do think that we're out to get them, which is hilarious. They got the guns, they got the spray, they got all kinds of stuff, and they got the authority. It's just already there in place. Like, you already know what quantity of a human being you're dealing with, or potentially dealing with a police officer. It could go really bad and wrong for nothing, or it could be fine or great. But they don't show us very much of good things with police happening, which is a shame, because I feel like the ones that are inclined to be nice and good and still be able to do their job just fine are few and far between, and they can't even be out about it, because that could be potentially dangerous to them. I mean, I'm surprised anybody who is not a complete violent savage even wants to be a police officer, because it sounds like a terrible work environment if you're not a violent F-head. But the two of them were talking about how it was this thing or that thing, and they wanted to attribute it to let's get it out there. Black people are also racist, and racist against each other. But that I think is kind of part of it, but I think it's even beyond the mob mentality type thing. There's definitely a cop mentality involved that is beyond racist. It's beyond humanist almost. I could not do that job. I don't want to be anybody's boss. I don't want to be having to be the authority over anyone. That sounds like a pain in the butt. It's hard enough keeping my own self corralled where I need to and ought to be. I think it's they get together, and that creates a dynamic that they act within as a unit when they're dealing with the public, the way that happened with Tyree and also George Floyd. It's they get caught up in the action of beating, and it's they're going back to a hunter mentality mixed with their fight or flight. And I don't know how much mentality as far as being aware of what they're doing, and they must know that there's going to be some kind of consequences, and these guys got the consequences that they all should, I think, for doing this thing where they're doing the judge, jury, and executioner and completely ignoring the whole due process part of it, because that means that just makes it kind of worrisome to have an interaction with a police officer, because you don't know, it's not just minorities or marginalized anymore. They're just getting everybody. They're not, it's wide open. So things like that, just beyond trying to figure it out, they're happening for a reason. We've had similar things happen in the past, and we just didn't get it. We tried to right things with the civil rights era in the 60s. Things tried to get corrected after the Civil War. Even before the Civil War became a war, there were course corrections that tried to be put in place, and the most of us just wanted to have this horror, and it's that happening again. It's God, when are the people that want the horror going to get enough? Are you going to ever get it out of your system so the rest of us can just live peacefully? Because being in a state of fear and conscious, again, it's like a zombie movie or a vampire movie. Like, you're constantly on alert and you're constantly in fear of, and you don't know who you're dealing with because they could turn on you or turn into something and turn on you. Yeah, so it can be a monster movie, life, but you know, if enough of us don't want that, don't feel the need to go through that, like maybe I believe in past lives, so I think that the people that are raising a ruckus that want like all these the words bright and exciting come to mind, but not in a good way, like bright like like a flash grenade, an explosion like a grenade. But none of those conjure happy, nice, good for me, but I'm not there. Like, I have gotten to a life where I don't feel the need to go through those things again. I want to, like, do happy, nice stuff. I want everybody to get along. I still think Rodney King said a great thing when he said, can't we all get along? Like, the reasons we don't are silly. So, I mean, I could go further into why that is, but I feel like I've jabbered enough. My main point is, well, those things are happening like for a reason. That saying that I used to hear when I was a child that would just infuriate me and make no sense. God does things for a reason. God, us, whoever, it's all the same. Whether you believe in God or not, whether you believe in religion or not, stuff is happening. It's on a track. It can be seen and followed if you are looking at things in a certain way. It's going to be different for everyone else, which is why I'm not going to try to explain what the hell I'm talking about. When you start to see it and start to notice it, then you'll know. You will feel different and you'll make the appropriate changes to your life. But we're not all on the same page, going the same speed, and that's why stuff's all crazy and appalling and different and unexpected, good or bad. But all of the things happen for a reason, because they happen, we experience them, and then we go through what we go through, and they go through what they go through for having done whatever they did. There might be consequences or awards, but it's all a process, and we're all going through it, and we're all going through it simultaneously. And all of the upset and uproar right now, I feel like, is us working our way through some chunky, uncomfortable stuff. But I feel like ultimately we'll all be happier and better for it, and whether we're reluctant to go through it as I am or not, or even aware of it, we're gonna go through it. So might as well get the most out of it as we can, right? Like, if we can get enough of a clue to know that that's happening and it's a thing to do. I don't know about you, but I want to do it because I feel like it's an upward progression, and it's just hard to keep in mind that these things that are happening for a reason. It's hard to remember that. It's hard not to get sucked into the emotion of it. These bodies we have, you know, we got this fight or flight business in there happening, and other just sort of autonomous mechanisms that, you know, if we're not in a right or correct or good state of mind, we could be sent spiraling. So, I don't know what the culmination of all of that is, except that I wanted to share it with you, and I just have to give thanks to, well, just whoever, okay? I just want to give thanks for the good things that have been happening and the things that I realized of it. And even at the beginning of this, when there was really a small incident that happened, that I just reacted way more than was necessary. Like, even at the time I thought that, but it was like one of those things where I got caught up in emotion and got caught up in this. If I was in the right state of mind that day, I would not have even need to be caught up. I could have just ignored it, but I didn't. Like, that day, I didn't. And it's just set this in motion, this emotional inflamement that I was having. And, you know, I knew it would pass, you know. I have more to say, but I'm not going to say it right now. I think I've said enough. But I'm really happy and grateful for the blessings that did come in. And they maybe would have come in earlier if I would have stopped trying to examine like the how or whys of who's the maternal figure and where the hell is money going to come from. Just surrender. You see it in a lot of videos on spiritual things, and the way is to get the goodies is just surrender to, don't try to control things. That's what I mean by surrender. And also, like I said, get out of your own way. Don't get caught up. Don't go on an emotional spiral reaction like I did. I know. Don't do it. I don't know how to not do it. It's a suggestion. If you can curb yourself from getting all whacked out, I mean, great. Share that recipe. Anyway, it is a good day. Thank you and good night.